Hi, welcome back to Wallflowers. Today we're going to make chard and spinach smoked salmon lasagna. I went into the garden and I picked some of these lovely different coloured chard spinach stems. I thought, right, this will be lovely in this lasagna today. I chopped them all up, I diced the stems, I chopped the leaves up. These stems are absolutely beautiful when you see them contrasting next to each other like this. Most people will throw away the stems of the chard, but they're actually quite good for a lot of meals, and it's back to that theory of eating the rainbow. As I say, those colours are delightful to look at. So I chopped them up finely, presented them on a nice plate, and you can see actually the colours of all the different chard stems and the leaves, from the white to the red, the pink and the yellow. Absolutely beautiful. And then four very small onions. You'd probably be okay with one large one or two medium sized. I just chopped them very finely. We like onions in our food, but unfortunately I only had small ones available today, so 4 was enough for us. These onions look like a mix between white and red. I don't think they know what colour to be. I'm sure they'll be delicious. I chopped up the salmon quite finely, little squares. If you can't afford to actually go out and buy a salmon at the fishmonger, you can always get salmon trimmings. Works out much more affordable. So I put some oil, about 3 tablespoons worth, in the frying pan. Added the onions you just saw that I chopped. Give them a good stir around. Intend to cook them till they get to that near translucent stage. So basically they're cooked before they go in the lasagna. So there's no crunchy or hard bits. We like a soft texture. And then on top of that goes the chard stems that are firmer than the leaves. So do the same to those, give them a bit of a pre-cook before you actually add them. So put those together in the frying pan. Again, those colours just look absolutely wonderful. Lovely mixture of them. So at this point I'm just trying to get all the little fiddly bits off the plate, and try and leave the actual greens there for later on in the recipe. So in this, as I say, we've got the chard stems and the onions, and just bring them through. I don't know why these carrot pictures are actually appearing in this video. I think I've got them confused today. So this is 3.5 cups of milk in a pan. Slowly bring to the boil. That is 1/4 cup of milk, to which is added then a tablespoon of, whether you call it cornstarch or corn flour. I tend to call it a mixture of both. On the pantry shelf here you can see I call it cornstarch. Generally when we buy it in the shops it's corn flour here. So I mix that into the 1/4 pint of milk and leave to one side. So this is how I make my sauce. I see some other people actually add flour and do what they call a bechamel sauce. This is the only way I know how to make a white sauce. So as I say, I'm bringing the milk to a boil here, a steady boil. Once it reaches that point, when the bubbles start coming, you add butter or margarine. So it's 30 grams at this point, and dissolve that in, along with the 1/4 cup of milk you've just had to one side with the corn flour mixed in. And now this will all begin to thicken, so keep stirring. I've grated 100 grams of cheese to make the white sauce a cheese sauce. Just add this. I say don't walk away at any point now. This is where you actually keep stirring because you're on a rambling boil, so to speak. So you don't want anything sticking to the bottom, and you certainly don't want it to overboil and be all over the cooker. So in the tin I'm making the lasagna in, I actually pour sauce on the bottom layer. I have greased it, and then I pour some of the white sauce. I'm now flecking in pieces of the chard and the onion just to give it a base for something for the first layer of pasta to stick to. So just draw a nice pretty picture really. Looks like a mosaic there, the salmon sections I'm putting on at the moment. Brightly coloured mosaic vegetables, looks really nice. And in this tin I'm using at the moment, I can actually fit 3 sheets of pasta, lasagna pasta across. I like the effect of the onions and the salmon underneath the pasta. It's almost like a wallpaper with a pattern on. So at this stage you lightly cover, you just pour a thin layer of sauce over the pasta to make sure that it will actually cook through whilst it's sat in the sauce. You don't want any dry sections. And I start to put the green leaves on then. A good layer of the spinach and the chard leaves in between. And now the chard stems, spinach stems, and the salmon, and just layer up basically as we go along. Bit more sauce to make sure there's a nice bed for the pasta to sit upon. And then gradually another layer of pasta. That looks like beautiful wallpaper. It's a pretty image. As I say again, another thin layer of the white sauce, keeping the moisture within the pasta, and continue to layer as we already have done. Green leaves. So I think we have 3 layers of 3 slices of pasta. And now our final layer on the top, so we can actually go crazy and use everything we've got left. And then finally top with the sauce evenly. I decided, being in about 5 minutes in the oven, I decided to add some tomatoes, so I sliced some cherry tomatoes and put those over the top, and then placed it back in the oven. At this point I start to make the dough for the garlic bread. So we weigh 200 grams of flour. We add a couple of shakes of salt, and again with the black pepper. We add, so this is still the black pepper, and then we add a sachet of yeast. Some mixed herbs. That's the yeast going in now. That's half a tablespoon of sugar to activate the yeast with the warm water. 2 tablespoons of oil. See, it's all very well cooking this food at home, but you have to add the flavours to make it more enjoyable, to make you want to eat your own food rather than go and buy junk food. Once you start incorporating the flavours into your food, You won't want to eat anything else. Home food is a blessing, it really is. And there's the warm water now. Whisk it all together. Try and thicken it up and get a good consistency. This is going to be our dough for the garlic bread. At this point it's too wet, so I need to add more flour. Initially we added 200 grams and I think we added about another 100 grams there of flour. Bring it out onto the board with some flour underneath. Once you've kneaded it into the flour and got it to a good consistency, put it in a ball shape, put it back in the bowl you originally made it in, and then look for the nearest tea towel and cover it, really. So at this point we leave it to sit for 15 minutes for the dough to rise. Tidy up some of the mess around me, and make sure the lasagna's out. If I'd have left it, it would have burned. It's looking dark around the edges, but that's nice and well done as far as we're concerned. Absolutely yummy. It's a nice depth on it. So the garlic for the garlic bread, I had some wild garlic in the freezer, so I chopped and put that in the pan. I added again 30 grams of margarine or butter, a pinch of salt and some warm water. I like to put parchment paper on the tray before I actually start rolling out the pizza dough for the garlic bread. So the parchment paper means it doesn't stick to the surface underneath if it's too moist. My son couldn't wait, he was going out, so he wanted a portion of the lasagna before he went, and then I continued to make the garlic bread. So here I am rolling it out, getting a nice even spread all around the pan. You can see all the flecks of the herbs in the pastry, and I roll it out extra. I used to always be really cautious of trying not to go over the edges or throwing the excess away if I did, you know, by cutting it off and then throwing those pieces in the bin. And I learnt a little trick. Once you spread the garlic all over the inner side of the pizza that you're going to use, why waste the outside? So I spread the garlic oil all over the edges. Decided to add 100 grams of cheese, so grated that all over, even the extra edges. Then I decided to fold the edges in, almost like a calzone, a folded pizza that they have in America. So I folded the edges in, and then I decided to brush the folded edges in with the garlic oil again. And it was delicious, nothing wasted. That's been coated both sides now with the garlic oil and the cheese in between. Extra garlic bread, anyone? So yeah, it looks like a crazy shaped envelope, but none will be wasted in this household, I assure you. Looks well done. I think it's the lights really, because it came out quite green. It looks quite dark under this light. There's sesame seeds sprinkled all over the top of the garlic bread, which I did before I put it in the oven. And there's me trying to present it prettily so it looks enticing. I didn't need to really. It's absolutely delicious. Homemade food, you can't beat it. What you're making your family this weekend. Okay, thanks for joining me. Please like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you soon.